Module 3. The Regional Development Banks of Africa and Asia Pacific. Who owns them, how they are financed, and which of them hires consultants at scale. The African Development Bank was established in 1964 and began operations in 1966. Its headquarters is in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Operations were temporarily relocated to Tunis from 2003 to 2014. It is a group of 3 entities. The African Development Bank itself is the non-concessional window, lending from ordinary capital resources to middle-income African governments and to non-sovereign borrowers. The African Development Fund, established in 1972, is the concessional window for low-income countries, funded by donor replenishments on the same model as AIIB. And the Nigeria Trust Fund, established in 1976 and financed by Nigeria, is a small additional concessional facility. Membership is 54 regional member countries and 27 non-regional members, who provide capital and vote alongside the African shareholders. Nigeria is the largest regional shareholder. The United States is the largest non-regional shareholder. The presidency is held by a national of a regional member country. Operational priorities sit under 5 headings the bank calls the High Fives: Light Up and Power Africa, Feed Africa, Industrialize Africa, Integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life for the people of Africa. Project documents and terms of reference are written against them, so quote them accurately when you bid. Below the African Development Bank sits a dense layer of subregional and African-owned banks. They are smaller, they are real sources of financing and of work, and newcomers consistently overlook them. In West Africa, BOAD, the West African Development Bank, established 1973, headquartered in Lome, Togo, the Development Bank of the West African Economic and Monetary Union. And EBID, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, also in Lome, serving the 15 ECOWAS member states. In Eastern and Southern Africa, TDB, the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank, established 1985, formerly the PTA Bank, headquartered in Bujumbura with its principal office in Nairobi. And DBSA, the Development Bank of Southern Africa, established 1983, headquartered in Midrand and wholly owned by the South African government. Continentally, Afrexim Bank, the African Export-Import Bank, established 1993, headquartered in Cairo, financing trade and trade-enabling infrastructure. The Africa Finance Corporation, established 2007 in Lagos, and Africa 50, headquartered in Casablanca. Arab Financed, BADEA, the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, established 1974 by Arab League member states and headquartered in Khartoum, which finances development in non-Arab African countries. The Asian Development Bank was established in 1966 and is headquartered in Manila. 69 members, of which about 50 are regional. Japan and the United States are the largest shareholders and hold equal shares. The presidency has by convention gone to a Japanese national. It runs 2 windows. Ordinary capital resources fund non-concessional sovereign and non-sovereign operations. The Asian Development Fund is the concessional facility, replenished by donors. Since 2017, ADB has merged the fund's lending operations into the ordinary capital balance sheet, so the Asian Development Fund now provides grants only, while concessional loans are made from ordinary capital at concessional rates. For a consultant, ADB matters twice over. It is a heavy user of consultants, and it operates its own consultant management system, in which individuals and firms register, maintain a profile, and are recruited or shortlisted. Its operational direction is set out in Strategy 2030. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank was proposed in 2013, began operations in January 2016, and is headquartered in Beijing. Membership has grown past 100 approved members and extends well beyond Asia. China is the largest shareholder. AIIB finances infrastructure, sovereign and non-sovereign. It has no IDA-style concessional window, and it runs a deliberately small staff, so a large share of its portfolio is co-financed with the World Bank, ADB, the EBRD or others, and the co-financing partner's procurement rules frequently govern the contract. If you are bidding on an AIIB co-financed project, establish first whose rules apply. It is the single most common way to waste a fortnight on the wrong template. The Islamic Development Bank was established in 1975, is headquartered in Jeddah, and has 57 member countries spanning Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. Saudi Arabia is the largest shareholder. All financing is Sharia-compliant, which changes the instrument names rather than the development logic. Istisna for construction, Ijara for leasing, Murabaha for the procurement of goods, and Sukuk for market funding. Group members include AIIB for private sector finance, ICIEC for insurance and export credit, ITFC for trade finance, and the Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development as the concessional, poverty-focused window. 3 subregions behave differently enough to name. The Pacific Island states are served principally by AIIB and the World Bank, alongside Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade with its Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific, New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and JICA. Climate adaptation finance, particularly from the Green Climate Fund, is proportionally larger here than anywhere else in the world. Central Asia is a contested space where AIIB, AIIB, the EBRD, the World Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, and the Eurasian Development Bank all operate. Expect co-financing and expect differing procurement regimes on the same corridor. In South Asia, the World Bank and AIIB are the 2 dominant financiers of roads, power, water, and urban infrastructure. AIIB and the Islamic Development Bank are significant secondary sources. India is simultaneously a large borrower and, through its own lines of credit, a provider. Before you rely on any of this, check the source. Membership counts, shareholding, replenishment rounds, country eligibility, and strategy documents all change. Check each institution's own site, and for live work, read the current country partnership strategy or country operations business plan and the published procurement plans, not the corporate brochure. In summary, Africa, the African Development Bank Group with its hard window and the African Development Fund, plus a dense layer of sub-regional and African-owned banks. Asia Pacific, AIIB. As the large consultant hiring institution, AIIB. As an infrastructure financier that usually co-finances, and the Islamic Development Bank across its member states with Sharia-compliant instruments. All of them are financed the way Module 2 described: subscribed capital, bond issuance, and donor replenishments for the soft window. Next, the regional banks of the Americas, Europe, and the Middle East, and the new banks.